Welcome to Tonight Live. I'm Paisley Beebe, and welcome also to our viewers on the web who are also in our group chat. This show is our 125th show, and it's also our anniversary show. 3 years ago, on June the 25th, 2007, Tonight Live was first filmed and broadcast to help us celebrate this occasion. We invited some old favourites onto this episode. Later on tonight, we'll be chatting with CEO of Treat TV, Wiz Nordberg. And Wiz and myself, of course, started this production with the help of my team and his team. And so I can't wait to hash over some old times. We also revisit a musician who was on our second show, Astrin, the pioneer of Second Life music and the owner of Live Music Enthusiasts, which is probably still the largest music group in Second Life. Astrin very rarely plays music in Second Life anymore, but he will play for us on his very first old favourite Prim guitar, and then also fill us in on what he's up to now and what his feelings are about the developments with Linden Lab this week and the music scene in general. But first, Troy McLuhan describes himself as a small business owner and promoter of Second Life as a platform for science, education and public outreach. But I like to refer to Troy as that rocket scientist. It's not often I get to say that, actually, so I like to brag to people that I know a rocket scientist. I first met Troy before this show started. I sang at the grand opening of the second sim of the Second Life International Space Flight Museum. If you haven't been out there and you like rockets and all things space flight, it is a must-see. He was one of the organisers of the event, and even then the models at the museum were beautifully made and well ahead of their time. So I asked Troy if he'd like to be a guest on Tonight Live. Our first rehearsal was on June the 10th, 2007, and Troy was scheduled to be on the July the 8th show. And just hours before it began, we got a message that Troy's main computer had just died and he couldn't get into Second Life. Fortunately, I found someone to fill in and we rescheduled Troy to August. And in that first interview, I asked about how he got involved in the Space Flight Museum and what he knew about rockets and such. Troy no longer works there at the ISM, so we'll find out what he's been doing lately. Welcome to Tonight Live, Troy, again.
Thanks, Pookie.
Pookie?
Pookie Paisley.
I know you've actually been on Pookie's show quite a bit. So it's no wonder that you do that. You're quite a whiz at the quiz.
Yeah.
As I should imagine. See, Pookie's in the audience. So you can say hi, Pookie. Say hi, Pookie, again to Pookie.
Hi, Pookie, the real Pookie, and also to Paisley.
And then you can say hello to me.
Yeah.
So, Troy, when you knew I was doing a TV show here in Second Life, were you nervous about coming on that show?
A little bit. I imagine I was probably about as nervous as you were.
I was nervous on that show. I really was. And I don't know that I was very nervous after that. And excuse my cat Misty, who's sitting next to me on the seat. She's quite determined to sit on my lap today because it's freezing cold here in Sydney. You seemed a little nervous, but I know that once I got you talking about your favourite subject, which was rockets, you calmed right down. Troy, so tell us a little bit about your background to do with space exploration for those people that haven't seen the previous show and don't know what you do.
Sure. So I've always been interested in travel and exploration and space exploration. And I actually studied space exploration at university. So when I came into Second Life, it was only natural that I'd get involved with fellow space exploration enthusiasts here.
So when you say you studied space exploration, was that what kind of a degree do you come out with after that, or was it part of another course that you were doing?
When undergrad, I was studying physics and math, and then I got more specialized in grad school. So I went to the International Space University, and then I also went to study astrodynamics and space mission design at Purdue University.
And why didn't you continue on with that way if that's a huge passion of yours?
Well, I was continuing in Second Life in a sense. I had intended originally to work with NASA, but there were budget cuts and one thing led to another, and the fact that I wasn't a U.S. citizen also came into play, and so none of that worked out.
Seems like they're still cutting budgets on it, aren't they? Have you been watching that closely?
They're really scaling back the space program lately. They're more or less retiring the shuttle. At least that's the current plan. They'll be retiring it in fall here, and there's really nothing to replace it yet. So,
okay, I only know a little bit about space, mainly from what I learned from my 13-year-old son. The space shuttle is the way to get up to the space station. If they retire the space station, the space shuttle, how do they get up there?
They'll be using the Russian rockets.
So they'll fire people up via rockets rather than the space shuttle. What's the big difference there besides a huge amount of G-forces?
Well, they've been using the Russian rockets all along. It's just that's the only thing they'll be using from going after the space shuttle retires and before they get some kind of replacement for the space shuttle.
Someone in the audience asked whether you had worked for NASA, and you've just sort of answered that question by saying that with all the budget cuts and the fact that you're Canadian and everything, have you ever been inside of NASA and the installations there? Or?
Yeah, when I was at grad school, I was actually funded by NASA, so I guess I was technically employed by NASA. And then during that time, I did get to visit a number of NASA facilities. I've been to JPL and also to the Kennedy Space Center in Florida.
Have you been?
JPL is in the Los Angeles area.
Do you have a dream, Troy, of going up to the space station? If you had, $30 million, would you go into the space program and do that?
The space station hasn't really interested me. No, I think that this Virgin Galactic Spaceship 2 project is kind of interesting, where you pay $200,000 and you go up into space for a few minutes, and you experience weightlessness and see the curvature of the Earth and all that. That would be kind of cool.
When are they planning to do that?
I think if everything goes according to plan, maybe sometime next year they'll be doing the first launches of that.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So should we have a fundraiser in Second Life for you, Troy, to help you raise the money?
Well, $200,000 is that's a lot of money. I'm not Relay for Life. You should really be raising money for that.
It's a different sort of relay. We're relaying Troy in and out of space. We can have our own Second Life rocket man go up there. That'd be fun. Now, Troy, you're involved with Scilands as well, and I've got a couple of pictures of it up here in Second Life. What is Scilands for? What does it have on it?
So the Scilands originally started when a few science and technology-related organizations decided to connect their sims together in Second Life. That was about at the end of 2006. And since then, it's grown into about 70 sims and maybe about 30 organizations, including NASA and Department of Energy and NOAA and various science-related museums like the Tech Museum of Innovation and the Exploratorium, plus a number of universities that have science programs. So it's sort of a loose association of people who are all interested in science education and science public outreach.
And what do they do there? Do they hold courses or classes?
Yeah, there's some classes. Some teachers, some professors use Second Life for teaching their biology or chemistry or astronomy classes. And then there's also public talks, for example, where anyone in the general public can come, just like a university seminar, and they can hear the latest in the world of astronomy, say. So there's a variety of things that go on there.
If people want to find out the sort of things that go on there, is there like a central website or something they can go to see what events are being held, or do they have to join a particular group?
No, they can go, if they go to Google and search for Second Life Science Center, there's a website. And the Science Center is sort of an umbrella organization for all the science-related things in Second Life. Yeah. So it includes the Scilands, but it also includes all the science-related things that aren't in the Scilands. And there's a calendar on there, for example, that shows all the science-related events. There's a list of all the science-related places in Second Life, it's kind of like Sassoon Steinbeck's list of art galleries, but it's for science-related places.
Wow. So since we first talked, which is nearly 3 years ago, Troy, what has your involvement in Second Life been? What have you seen? What have you learnt? Big question, I guess.
Yeah, well, one of the big things I've learned with being in Second Life is that there's a lot more to building communities than just building roads and buildings and writing some software. There's a lot of, setting up governance and constitutions and groups and holding events and meeting people and, the policy and, enforcement. So, and, of course, this is something I didn't really study much in school. So this has been a real eye-opener for me. I mean, this is obvious for some people, I suppose. And I've really learned a lot in that area since I've been here.
And you've been quite vocal on some of the blogs, Troy, about some of the things that Linden Lab have been up to in the past and now lately. What's your opinion on the layoffs and M stepping down? Do you have any concerns about Second Life after that, or do you feel more positive about it?
Okay, so there's a few points in there. First of all, I was sad to hear that there was about 100 Lindens that lost their jobs. I personally know several of them. But that said, I think that Linden Lab's renewed focus on their core users is a good move. The people who are already keeping the platform alive. It's not some hypothetical market in the future. It's an actual one that exists today. So, last week, Philip gave his speeches at the Second Life 7th birthday party, and they said that with these layoffs, that'll help them to return to solid levels of profitability. And that means that, quote, we're safe, the world is safe. So, Second Life is in no danger of shutting down tomorrow, and people whose livelihoods depend on it can continue without worrying about that.
Mm. You don't think that was a piece of spin? You do feel actually quite secure then?
I do. And, Linden Lab has said that they've been profitable for a few years now. And I think maybe they went unprofitable recently, and these layoffs help them to get back to being profitable. And, it's important to be profitable, because if you're not profitable, you're losing money, and you might have to get more investment, and that kind of puts question, on whether or not the world is sustainable. But as long as they're continuing running as a going concern, then I'm not too worried.
So, Troy, you've got plans to start a new business here in Second Life. Could you talk a little bit about that? A tour, almost like a tour guide sort of plan. Troy? Oh, have we lost Troy? Have we lost Skype?
Yes, we've lost Troy. Can I call him back?
Yes. Yeah, you might hear Troy on voice. Troy has been let go. Troy, are you there?
Hi, I'm back, yeah.
Don't run away. Come back. Was that too hard a question? Texas, have we stopped or are we still going? Okay. All right. I don't know if you heard the question. Troy, I was going to ask you about your new business venture. Yes.
Right. So for the last 5 months or so, I've been working on building a new business venture, and it's still not launched yet. It'll probably launch sometime in the next month or two. And what it is, it's a business to offer guided, self-propelled tours across all of Second Life. In a fairly automated way, so I'm not actually paying anybody's salary when they're doing that, but it helps them to explore and experience all the cool, interesting things all over Second Life.
Yeah, that does sound cool. What a great idea. I think that would be great for people that have been here for a long time as well as newbies, and we certainly need something like that, because seeing they've got rid of a lot of the volunteers who've been helping people get around. A big part of the tours will actually be aimed at people who are new to Second Life, and pointing out, here's New Citizens Incorporated, here's the shelter, here's the
Library Tower, Library of Primitives, and all these great resources that exist for people who are new to Second Life.
Well, thank you very much, Troy, for being a guest on our show again at this
It's a pleasure.
third anniversary. I have very fond memories of the opening of that International Space Museum sim. Got some great pictures from it with all that, cosmetology or whatever you want to call it behind me, cosmos. And if people want to find out about the tours, Troy, have you got anything online yet, or should they just contact you direct?
They could IM me, or if they like, they just look at my website, which is troymcconaughey.com. That's actually in my profile, my Second Life profile. So I have a blog and I Twitter and everything. So if you just follow some of those things, I'll surely mention it once I do launch this business.
Fantastic. Thank you, Troy McLuhan. Next up, the granddaddy of Second Life music, Astrin Few, is up next.
Citizen D builds and sells high-quality, fully functional robots, automatons, and other useful scripted gadgets at affordable prices. Visit their beautiful flagship store located on Route 1 across from the famous Mormo sign in historic Mormo. Learn Spanish at Instituto Español, the Second Life leaders in Spanish language education. Transformational talismans, trinkets, and treasures from the dream merchants at Alchemy Immortalis. We create props, scenes, and experiences that invite suspension of disbelief and help you live a more magical life.
Astrin Few was one of the first Second Life musicians that I met. He was, in fact, the first musician anyone ever heard and met on Second Life, and no one can take that away from him. He, with Flaming Mo, started a huge music group, Live Music Enthusiasts, which is still the largest live music group in Second Life. Astrin rarely plays in Second Life anymore, so we are very privileged to have him on the show tonight to play for us. Please welcome to the Tonight Live stage, after 3 years, Mr. Astrin Few with his tune, Anne Titam.
Advertise on Tonight Live with Paisley Beebe and get your brand noticed.
Welcome to Tonight Live again, Astrin.
Thanks. It's nice to be back after only 3 years. I thought it was
Only 3 years. I know, it does seem like a long time ago. I think it's because of the passage of how long it's, how much has changed in the 3 years, except for your guitar, of course.
Yeah, that's right. That's that old version 1 Nina Slade guitar from 2004.
Yep, it looks like that. It's very old school. You keep on, you hang on to that, Astrin.
Oh yeah.
At least you've updated your appearance. We've got a picture of you up here on the screen, actually, as you were. What year was that?
Let's see. Let me look around and see what it is.
Have a look on the front.
Well, that could be anywhere. That could be anywhere up to like 06.
3 months ago. Yeah.
Yeah, that course. Yeah, 06 or something. I actually gave you a business card that I made before I ever started playing.
I think I got it.
It's yeah. It was like I decided I should have like a card to give to people that had the Live 365 stream URL on it, because Second Life didn't have stream audio at the beginning.
So first of all, before we go into that, because I'm fascinated about that, tell us about that tune that you just played. It was absolutely gorgeous, beautiful.
Oh, I'm glad you like it. Yeah.
Really
I even started it as a waltz by accident. That tune is, sometimes you spend months and months working on a tune. That's one of those tunes that just comes out of your hands. We were taking a trip to visit a friend in Washington, D.C., and we stopped at the Antietam battlefield, National Memorial, which is in Maryland, just north of D.C., and it's an amazing place. I've been to Gettysburg and some others, and actually I highly recommend Antietam to folks. It's the largest number of dead in a single battle in the Civil War, and up there for all wars in human history. And that night I just sat down in the living room of my friend's condo and like literally just played that song.
Oh, it's beautiful. Really lovely. Now, going way back to when you first started, were you doing Mac jams or something like that before you found Second Life and decided to bring it in here?
Yeah, there's actually two things. I did a thing called Res Rocket, which before that was called DRGN, which was MIDI based, and it was actually a lot of fun. It was a big looping system, so you would have like a 16-bar loop going or a 32-bar loop, and you'd layer stuff in and chat on the side. So there was a lot of humor involved. Guys would lay in some weird, funky percussion or something and make a joke about it. They went commercial with that, and as soon as they went to commercial, it died. It's an example of something that works much better if it's not a business. And then in IRC, I'd always tried to get people to listen to me, but because that's a chat-only interface, everybody always had something else on their mind, and it was very hard to convince them that you actually had a guitar in your hand, you were actually playing it, and please, oh, please, would you just load my URL in your 1-amp and listen to me? And they'd be like, no, I'm listening to AC/DC right now.
Yeah.
So the thing about Second Life was I figured the visual thing might make the difference.
And so how did you stream music in here then when you first started?
Well, originally there was a couple of DJs, and everybody was using just one commercial stream app called Live 365. And I figured it would be too hard to get people to try to do something different. I'd had my own Shoutcast servers, for years, but I just went ahead and got a Live 365 account. So for the first, couple of months is all it was. I was on Live 365, as were all the DJs.
And were you in here before Mo, or did you meet Mo in here?
Mo came around about a half year later. He came around in fall of 2004. So I'd already been playing a lot of shows, and he searched for jazz and events and saw me playing a show, and he came by, and we hit it off. He obviously knew a lot of the tunes that I was playing. He even made a comment about how I played a tune in the non-standard key, so we were buddies.
Oh, that's impressive.
Because I'm not a singer, I normally instrumentalists actually play in the standard keys.
What were the crowds like back then? for your
Oh,
shows?
it was really nice. I mean, Clementina Park was just lovely. It was, a small number of people that wanted to hear, the kind of stuff that I play, and it would vary from 12 people to 40, 50, and it was once a week, and then later on I started playing clubs. But it was really nice. It was just a real small group of people. It was, you saw the same people every week practically, and some of those people are still around.
So how did you start up the Live Music Enthusiasts?
Well, that was actually, we started Jazz Enthusiasts first, because Mo and I, being jazz musicians, were like, well, we need to have a way for people to realize that there's jazz music going on live. So we created Jazz Enthusiasts, and then, like 7 people joined. We said, no, wait a second, this is a little bit limiting that it's jazz. So then we fired up Live Music Enthusiasts as a catch-all group. And so that's a much larger group. That's got like 3,000 or more people in it, and jazz is around 1,000, I think.
So, Astrin, when you look at the journey from back where you started to here, there was also a point where you publicly announced that you were over it, that you were going to quit. You told me personally you didn't think the platform was ever going to be capable of doing the sort of things that live musicians wanted. Do you still stand by that?
Well, you still got problems. I mean, after all, we're not playing music in Second Life, are we? I just stream to the audience here over a Shoutcast stream to a stream server that their viewer is listening to with an open source stream client that Linden Lab patched into Second Life. I mean, you're actually listening to Fmod when you listen to live music in Second Life. It's not even a Second Life product or Linden Lab product. So, I mean, there's that. But the thing that was bugging me at the time that was bigger was just how difficult, and actually this was just mentioned just a little while ago. Troy mentioned it, was the lack of community tools. The thing that was really bugging me at the time was the fact that notices wouldn't go out if the group was too big. So the notices were completely broken on Live Music Enthusiasts. And the only reason Live Music Enthusiasts existed pretty much was to be able to send notices about your gigs. So it was stuff like that that was bugging me the most. And right after that, they actually did fix it to some extent.
But you really did scale back quite a lot. Are you playing it all in Second Life now? I said that you play quite seldomly. I haven't seen any notices for you playing.
Yeah, I hardly ever play. I play for friends, actually. I'll just, play some music for a friend over at my place or something. I was actually playing some gigs. I've been using an alt avatar a lot for the past, 2 years. I actually just killed him. And I did do a few gigs as him last fall and sort of on and off, but not a whole lot. And, mainly just not playing much in Second Life. Usually when I play, actually...
Why did you play as an alt? Why did you play as an alt?
Well, the alt came first. The alt came first. I was kind of exploring an alternative lifestyle in Second Life, and it was recommended to me that I use an alt so that it didn't conflict with me playing regular Astrin gigs. Yeah. And then I kind of got used to it, and I just started just being myself. It wasn't like it was an alt like some people have. It was me. Everybody knew it was Astrin, and had the same friends on both. But it was just sort of to have something separate from my, Astrin persona.
Interesting. Now, when Philip Linden made his speech the other day, his second speech, he mentioned something about live music and saying how difficult it was to stream in here. And I don't actually believe that's the larger problem. What do you think about that?
Yeah, the thing that's always been the problem is the limit of residents on a sim. I mean, it's difficult to play to a large audience. I mean, you've played with the Four Corner, solutions, and it's a little hard to get past. I mean, really, essentially, Second Life is a coffee shop performance. A lounge performance. I think of myself being more of a lounge musician than a coffee shop musician, but it's a small audience thing, which is great. I love that. People actually listen. I mean, as you know, in real life, people rarely listen to live music, and people actually listen in Second Life, and that's a wonderful thing.
The problem,
But yeah, the fact that it doesn't scale is a problem.
I see the problem as being the fact that it's the same customers in the same coffee shop every week.
Right. And that gets back to the social networking aspect, the fact that it's so difficult to reach out to new people, to try to...
Exactly. You need to have more of an aspect of different coffee houses with different people in those coffee houses, so that it becomes more like a tour, because people get bored. As good as you are, as wonderful as you are, and you said this to me way back in 2007, and I thought you were just a bitter and twisted old avatar, but it's true. Yeah, you are bitter and twisted. But that people get bored of even the best singers and the best musicians, and they move on and they find someone else who they haven't seen before, because there is not enough new audience coming in to replace those people. Yeah.
And there's also the thing that well, I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, the fact that it's solo musicians. I mean, the fact that it's hard. I mean, I've never even been able to get hardly. The best I've done is a couple of guys, getting everybody hooked up with avatars, and everybody, actually having a laptop next to their instrument. I did a bunch of stuff with Kafka Denzeo that was really kick ass, with my son on drums, and that was legit. We all had computers. That was a live trio. But, that's bandwidth demanding and stuff. And that's another thing. The fact that you can't really, the format doesn't really allow actual bands, the way people used to sing in real life. So it's kind of solo media.
Yeah. Bands, we've had bands in here, but the difficult thing is that sustaining it, I think, keeping it going. Thank you so much.
And honestly, that's not that difficult of a thing. I mean, that's Second Life. Holding it back, because the problem is streaming Second Life. It's not the stream itself. There's always just one stream.
Well, I never had a problem bringing my band in. The problem is that I have to pay them. and there's no music here. There's no money in here anymore. There was back in the old days when we used to get the corporate gigs, Astrin, but not anymore.
Yeah, I didn't play too many of those, but the few that I did were kind of nice.
I did. I got loads of them. They were fantastic.
Yeah, you had contracts and things.
Yeah, no, I never had a contract. Somebody did try to get me to sign a contract, and I told them to bugger off. I wasn't going to sign it.
Okay. Well, you had extended engagements. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that was fun. Thank you so much for being our guest tonight, Astrin. It was very, very nice catching up with you, and lovely to hear your music again too. I hope we get a chance to hear it. If people want to hear your music online, where can they go? You still got your MySpace page up, or your own website?
Yeah, I actually never did MySpace because I refused to support Rupert Murdoch. But you can go to, actually, probably the best spot is the 61. I have a nice sampling on there. Just go to the 61.com/Sam Hoken. That's my real name.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much, Astrin.
Thank you.
Stay watching. The Wizard of Virtual TV is up next. Wiz Nordberg, CEO of Treat TV.
Citizen D builds and sells high-quality, fully functional robots, automatons, and other useful scripted gadgets at affordable prices. Visit their beautiful flagship store located on Route 1 across from the famous Moore Mall, sign in historic Moore Mall. Learn Spanish at Instituto Español, the Second Life leaders in Spanish language education. transformational talismans, trinkets, and treasures from the dream merchants at Alchemy Immortalis. We create props, scenes, and experiences that invite suspension of disbelief and help you live a more magical life.
Wiz Nordberg is the owner of Treat TV. Treat TV started out its early life as Cattle Puppy Productions. It then morphed into SLCN and then rebranded as Treat TV last year. I met Wiz in Texas when they were Cattle Puppy Productions back in 2007. They were bringing in real-life Aussie musicians into Second Life for a huge concert right here at North Point when it was all sand and beach, and attempting to film them and broadcast it live. I thought they were mad, so I decided to join them. The bands have never been in Second Life before. They had no idea how to stream in here, and some of them ended up having other Second Life residents fill in for them on stage because they didn't even know how to walk. So I ended up stage managing the first show for them, and I told them if they ever wanted anything like that again, that I'd join them gladly. It was hell. Wiz is usually behind the scenes for this show filming, and he is actually still behind the scenes filming as we're doing this. So he's going to be doing a fair bit of multitasking with Texas. But I dragged him out here so we can talk about the good old days and where we have been going in the past and where we are going in the future. Getting him to reply to my emails has always been tough, so this is the only way I can find out what the hell's going on. If he goes a bit quiet, it's probably because he's changing camera angles and fiddling with dials and knobs and things like that. Welcome to Tonight Live, Wiz.
Thanks, Paisley. It's great to be here.
Now, Wiz, what were you doing before Second Life?
Wow. Well, a lot of things. I had, Texas and I had, and still do, one of the most notable music industry web development companies in Australia. We did work for Sony and BMG and Warner Brothers Music for many, many years. And there's a lot of boring stuff that went on in between. I actually started a company called Music Mate. We were developing a consumer electronics product, and Second Life was just sort of a lark. It was actually a diversion. It was never anything that I intended to do, or even that I thought about seriously. It was like playing a game to me. And it was about a year after that, one Christmas, that I don't know. It was before the big hype cycle. The Texas and I think I said, Texas, I'm going to buy an island. Is that okay? And she looked up at me and she said, "Can I stop you?" And that's.
I think that should be Texas's mantra, shouldn't it?
I'd say she
you?
has. If anyone wonders, what it's like to live with Wiz, just talk to Texas. It's a challenge for her, I'm sure. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, so you bought the island in Second Life, and would you say now that that Treat TV is the main game?
Oh, Treat TV is the only thing. In fact, when we bought the island, we bought it to start a retail place because that's what everybody seemed to be doing. I just wanted to find out what it would be like, And I think it was when Texas did the Texas Aussie Music Party, which was bringing the Second Life, or bringing the real life bands like yourself in to coincide with South by Southwest, because we did so much webcasting before of major concerts. It just seemed obvious to me that, well, we should televise this just like we've done with big real life concerts, and that's really where SLCN came from.
So with a real life concert, obviously you've got a ground crew, haven't you? And this is an entirely different technology. How did you learn to operate the camera on your computer?
Oh, whoops! I just switched to the wrong camera. There we go. I think that what we're doing is actually quite conventional. If you were to call an AV company 5 years ago and say, I have 3 people playing games on my screen and I want to televise that, that AV company would have come out with a bunch of equipment, set it up, and done it. And in many ways, what we're doing is not very high tech at all. It's very much what broadcast television companies do, and the way we do it is very similar. So.
But there wasn't anyone really for you to learn from. I don't even know how much machinima was in here at the time. So, I mean, I remember from the first concert that you filmed, half the time the camera was under the stage, and then when it was on the band, you could see the cursor and you could see all the little bits and pieces were popping up all over the place. How did you figure out how to stop all that stuff from happening? Was it just trial and error and just playing around?
Well, we knew what we wanted. We wanted it to look like television from the moment we started doing it. And the thing you kind of have to remember is we've probably shot more machinima than anyone in the world, I'd guess. Texas and I have sat in front of these cameras for a minimum of 4,000 hours. And 3,000 of those hours are live on the Tree website. So, when we started off, we had it was kind of a luxury. For 6 months or 8 months, there were no viewers. There was nobody to impress and nobody to disappoint. And we just sat here and we did show after show after show. And probably after about 2 months, any competent broadcast person would figure out how to solve all these things. It was just a matter of one thing at a time and getting it all right.
So we're going to show a short clip from the very first show that we did together, the Tonight Live show back in 2007, where I look like some sort of Hawaiian princess. So let's cue that up now, Texas and Wiz, and we'll just have a quick look at that very first show.
Welcome to Tonight Live. I'm Paisley Beebe. This evening we'll meet a musician who is one of Second Life's finest. He blends jazz with ambient music and loves his wife's eye colour so much he wrote a song about it. Heath Elvicam. Also, we meet a fabulous dress designer who's recently won the Merovingi Group's Best New Designer of the Year award on Second Life, Natalia Basate. But our first guest is an evangelist, but not in the way the term is usually used. Jeffronius Batra from Amazon Web Services, who oversaw the building of the spectacular Amazon Developers Islands. Let's give a warm applause to Jeffronius Batra. Welcome to Tonight Live, Jeff.
Thank you, Paisley. I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah. So I don't know what changed. Maybe it was Windlight. See, that was before Windlight, Wiz, when we filmed that. And that was just a tanned skin. And I can remember all of a sudden we realised I had to wear very light skins after that. And, of course, then Windlight came along and I guess it all changed.
Yeah, Windlight solved a lot of problems. You looked a bit Polynesian in that episode, I think, Paisley. It was, it was an interesting look,
The studio was so clunky. I actually built that studio myself. You built the outside of it, and I built the inside. And, of course, there's pose balls everywhere and strange-looking seats in the audience that are just like two planks put together.
Yeah, it left a lot to be desired. In fact, I knew very little about building, and you knew much more than I did. I built that shell, and it was adequate. Got us by.
You used all those very fancy, texture type things. I didn't know how, and I still don't know how to use them. I just,
those texture type things. Yeah, like your studio has a lot of really nice texture type things now too. It's gorgeous.
It is gorgeous, and thanks to Safia and the girls from the Loft who have put it all together, and we've changed it. And last week I've rebuilt the outside. I don't know if you noticed, because it's starting to look a bit like a mausoleum, I decided.
Right.
But it's not a good look. So Wiz, what did you think? What did you in Texas first think when I proposed that we do a talk show with 3 guests for Treat TV?
Well, I thought you were going to want to do a music show. I mean, I think I probably was silent for a while and Texas did all the talking because I thought to myself, why is Paisley doing a talk show? You know, shouldn't be she's a performing artist, you know? So I did go through a moment of confusion, but then on the other hand, you know, the fact that you had been a performing artist, you knew how to deal with audiences and all that, that was really important to me, you know? So I was sort of like, well, let's just see what happens, you know? Let's go for it.
I do remember Texas, or you telling me that Texas nearly had a heart attack and she said, can we just start with one guest, please? And I just said, no.
Oh, it all was
3.
kind of ambitious, which for sure. And I think that's good because, you know, we started out with something that was very hard. In fact, you know, if we hadn't, there's a lot of stuff we wouldn't have learned. So I think there was a lot of time spent in rehearsals and we all learned a lot, but it's resulted in a format that's worked very well for 3 years.
What was your, can you recall what your favourite episode of Tonight Live might be?
Interesting. Well, I have to say, I always remember the one where Ember and the firefighting people set the studio on fire, and that one always, I always fondly remember that one. And then I have to say, nobody else may remember, but you had Racer X on once, and Racer X was the only person that left you speechless. You didn't know what to say. You didn't know what to ask him. You would ask him a question, and there would be silence, and he would give you one-word answers, and you were umming and ahhing. No. It was wonderful. It just made me laugh so much.
Thank you. You're laughing at my uncomfortability.
Well, no, you are an excellent interviewer, and I think they could have plopped Racer X down in front of anyone, and they would have been a little bit. He's just I don't think he's been on many talk shows, Pace. I don't think.
I wonder why. One-word answers. Maybe that's got something to do with it.
Well,
has there ever been? Go on.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, has there ever been a show that's really moved you emotionally that we've done?
Well, I think every time, it's not just one show, but a lot of your shows have had people on that work in charities or, you know, the Relay for Life people on, and, you know, there have been, you know, you had Gentle Heron on at one point, and I think one of the things I always find most moving about Second Life in general is that it lets people get together and do things who wouldn't otherwise be able to. You know, it's great for that's one of the reasons why charity events are so good. So I think whenever I see those, I always do stop while I'm here working at the desk, and I do think, well, it's great to be a part of this. So I don't cry much, but maybe I've come close.
Aww. Now, if someone had told you you would be responsible for streaming as many TV shows as you do on Treat TV 3 years ago, what, in all honesty, would you have told them?
I would have said, yeah, that's the kind of crazy person I am. Like, if, I don't know, you know, it's... Yeah, it started out being, you know, I do things like that, you know, I see something that's fun to do and it's crazy and I go overboard. That's so if somebody had said, yeah, Wiz, you're going to be spending night and day doing this, getting up at 2:00 in the morning, working on California time, I would have said, yeah, that sounds about right.
What is the craziest show that anyone's ever pitched you?
Oh, well, we get pitched a lot of shows. I'm not sure what the craziest show is. You know, a lot of people pitch us shows that are very similar to real life television shows. You know, I want to be a Lindonaire or things like that. Which to be honest, things
a Lindonaire.
Yeah, you know, who wants to be a Lindonaire? You know, I know, I love that. You know, because people respond to things which are similar to what they know. You know, it's very hard to do something different. It really, really is. So, you know, we've had. I can't say that there's been any wild and crazy pitch. We did have somebody pitch us a show that involved the Pony Girls, and at the time, Do you know what I'm talking about?
No idea.
Good.
The Pony Girls?
Yeah, good. They're Ask Someone, but basically there's a whole counterculture in Second Life that we don't ever really feature on our shows, and this whole thing was sort of a part of that counterculture. But that was interesting. That actually inspired us to think that maybe we should create an adult channel, and we which we flirted with
People
momentarily.
in the audience are filling me in right now, Wiz.
Are they?
I
Are
don't know
they?
if
Good.
they're joking, whether that's actually true.
No, they're. I'm sure they're not joking, Pace. It's so anyway, we can just leave that as a footnote on the show, and we never did that, but that was probably the one that I remember most, thinking, that one gave me pause.
So, Wiz, we've looked back. Now, looking forward, what are your ambitions as you look forward with Treat TV? Is there anything you can talk about?
Oh, well, ultimately, we're spending so much time doing this because we believe that someday, and we hope it's sooner rather than later, the ability to have avatars create television programs will be something that more and more and more people will watch. In fact, we're hoping that the day will come within the next few years where people will want to watch well-produced things like this on real-life cable television and other media. And, whenever I talk to people whenever somebody asks me what my ambitions are, I say, well, we believe that someday somebody will be doing this in a big way. And when you do talk to them, just like with anybody else, they'll say, oh yeah, we started 10 years ago when nobody knew about us. So the truth is, if you believe something's going to happen in the future, you have to figure out a way to be patient enough to get to the point where enough people understand it to watch more. I just really believe this will go mainstream someday.
Well, thank you very much, Wiz, for being our guest and our cameraman and our sound guy and our overall widget person.
Chief button pusher.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much for making my dream come true and allowing me to throw you crazy ideas, and for doing all the shows for Perfect World Productions and all the shows on Treat TV. It's been quite a ride.
Well, thank you, Paisley. I just push the buttons. You do all the work.
Not really.
Uh-huh.
Not really. I think you do quite enough work, but it has been a great ride, and it's been amazing. Amazing experience. And thanks for being our guest tonight.
Sure.
And that's all we've got time for tonight on Tonight Live. But before we go, there's a couple of little treats. Cole Marie Soleil is down in the audience. And if you don't know who she is, then watch my show from a couple of weeks back. Wonderful musician, wonderful machinima artist, amongst other things. And she's going to set off a little bit of a treat for us. And I've probably got my particles turned off at the moment. I'll have to go and turn them on. That's wonderful. And while they're going off, I think I'd like to do some thank yous. Thank you for all of our guests, Troy McLuhan, the Rocket Man, Astrin Few, musician and pioneer of Second Life music, and Wiz Nordberg, CEO of Treat TV, my colleague and friend. You can find out about our guests on our website at Tonight Live with Paisley Beebe. And if you want to watch it live, you can watch the show live and join the chat on live as well. I'd like to thank the Perfect World Productions team. Bliss Windlow, who's down there at the moment playing director, while Autumn Fox Sutherland is off on a break at the moment. And we wish her very well. Delinda Dyson, who's down there also in the audience, who is the producer of Live in Kickin'. And she's been around quite a long time in Perfect World Productions. Super Dave Spearman, who's up the back there, who's been with Perfect World Productions the longest time, who now manages all our studios and all our shows. And and also to Angie Mornington, who's the host and producer of the wonderful show Fabulous Fashion. Fabulous Fashion is coming back in July, so keep looking for that. And we have Live and Kicking this Tuesday night at 9:30 as well. So all the shows go on. And thank you, Cole Marie, for setting off those beautiful particles. Very much appreciated. And we're now going to run a short clip with some outtakes. So if you turn on your video button, those of you in the audience, I'll bring the screen back in again. You'll be able to see a little video that they've put together from the shows. And happy anniversary, 3-year anniversary to Tree TV and to Tonight Live, and all the people that were involved, particularly XS Delacroix in the beginning and Robin, and all the people that have been involved with Perfect World Productions over the years. Thank you so much for helping me put this together.
Welcome to Tonight Live. I'm Paisley Beebe. This evening we'll meet a musician who is one of Second Life's finest. He blends jazz.
Perfect.
Okay. What I need is I'm going to have to get a clock with a second thing actually on the computer, because I'm looking down at my watch and that's too distracting. So I'll try and figure that out.
Yep.
Welcome to Tonight Live. I'm Paisley Beebe. This evening we'll meet a musician who's one of Second Life's finest. He blends jazz with classical and loves his wife's eye colour so much he wrote a song about it. Heath Elveringham. Also, we meet a fabulous dress designer who has recently won Best New Talent Award in Design on Second Life, Natalie Bassate. But first, we meet a man who dreamt of going to the stars in real life with NASA and is doing it now on Second Life as spokesperson for the International Spaceflight Museum. Please give a warm welcome to scientist and engineer Dr. Troy McConaughey, known in Second Life as Troy McLuhan. Welcome, Troy. Now see, Troy's got to sit. That's right.
Thanks. Hi. Hey.
Hi. Troy, did you dream as a child of going to the moon? You can answer my questions.
I can't say that I did.
I beg your pardon?
I've always been interested in science.
You've always been interested in science. See that?
Like something that came along a little bit later.
Okay. You've got a PhD in astronautics. What on earth is that? Let's give Troy McLuhan a warm round of applause. Thank you for being our guest tonight. We'll be right back after this short break. Okay, then we have the break, and then the entertainer, Rena, you need to come on right now.
We should be rehearsing properly in character, which means that there's no verbal cues to that.
Quite a while.
Okay, I'm just going to write something in there. Phil. Let's give a warm hand for Heath Elveringham. Stay watching. We'll be back after this break.